Hello, my friends, and welcome to Italy, a place to love YouTube channel. The channel where I like to talk about the good, the bad, and everything about Italy. So in today's video, I want to go back to the Italian citizenship by descendant because things are moving and it seems like they're not getting very well for the Italians by blood, so they use Sanguinis who can apply for the Italian citizenship. So not good news are on the way. Let's start by saying two things, that the 8th and the 9th of June in Italy we are going to have a referendum, and one of the questions in the referendum is if to shorten the time to apply for the citizenship for foreigners who are living in Italy, so from 10 years down to 5. Now, the government at obviously the moment is asking people to not go to vote because they are against this law. So this referendum was called by the opposition because the opposition wants to shorten this period of living in Italy to apply for the citizenship from 10 years down to 5 years. Then I'm not entering personally my opinion. I just say that I will not go to vote anyway, and not because I'm following what the government is saying, but simply this is I don't go to vote. So probably the algorithm already will show to less people this video because I'm saying that I'm not going to vote. But anyway, this is what the government is asking. So to the people to not go to vote. Now, let's enter into the topic of the Italian citizenship by descendant, which I disagree with the new law, because for me, the ius sanguinis cannot be changed like this from one day to another. In particular, there was a comment of one of my subscribers who pointed to me the fact that Giorgia Meloni, our prime minister, only 2 or 3 weeks before she they put down this new law about the Italian citizenship by descendants. She went to South America and saying that how much she would close the ties with these countries, mainly Brazil and Argentina, where there are a lot of Italians by descendant, and so on. And then it seems like she fooled everyone. But anyway, I'm not saying my opinion about the politicians. I mean, that's why I don't go to vote, because my opinion about politicians is extremely low. I think the lowest level ever in my life. But now, let's focus on this article that comes from one of the major outlets in Italy called Corriere della Sera. So the section finance, everyone, I will put the link of this article. Obviously the article is in Italian, but it's possible to translate it in English. Now I'm gonna read the English translation of this article, and I will comment a bit about this topic, my opinion, but I already said that anyway, I'm against this new law. And so let's start. Before I start, please, if you like my channel, if you like the contents, my videos, put like and subscribe. It takes 2 seconds and it doesn't cost anything. All right, my friends, so let's start reading this article. The title is Citizenship, the Crackdown. The descendants of our emigrants will have it only if a parent or grandparent was born in Italy. Now, the Senate approves the decree that introduced a limit to the ius sanguinis to block the chaos of citizenship requests from people of Italian origin, especially from South America. Now, I'm already against this title because why you should point in particular to the South Americans? There are also plenty of North American. Now, it seems like there is something on purpose done against the South American more than the North American, even if the North Americans are going to be the one in the United States or Canada are going to be affected at the same level as the South American. But if we go deep in the article, we'll find out later what this government really doesn't like. Anyway, just a few weeks before the referendum, whose fifth question is dedicated to the acquisition of Italian citizenship, the issue adds another piece to the heated identity and legislative debate after the approval in the Senate of the so-called Citizenship Decree. The legislative decree 3625, which received the first green light in Palazzo Madama with 81 votes in favor and 37 against. This was on the 27th of March, if I'm not wrong. 27. Yeah. The provision which came into force on March 29, after approval by the Council of Ministers, and which now passes to the chamber to be converted into law by May 27. So we are getting closer to this deadline, which is May 27. It will probably pass because they have the votes in the parliament. So hopefully not. A miracle should happen, but let's see. Introduces a fundamental principle, that citizenship is not automatically transmitted to those born abroad who possess another citizenship, but descendants of Italians, and recognition of the same is also precluded to those born abroad before the entry into force of the provision itself. Now, behind the apparent legal technicality lies a far-reaching social phenomenon that has put institutions on alert. Now, this is the thing. The explosion of requests for Italian citizenship from Latin American countries. Okay, anyway, this was the law. These people were entitled to apply. So they just suddenly changed it, and now all these people who wanted to apply, they find themselves in a particular situation. Now, particularly Brazil and Argentina. Now, I don't like here that they're pointing in particular to two nationalities. Why? What's wrong with these two nationalities? Is there anything wrong with Brazilian and Argentinian? So we do this because too many Italians moved over there because Italy was desperate? I don't know. Now, the issue has returned to the forefront after the alarm raised by the Farnesina a couple of years ago. Farnesina is a department of the foreign ministers in Italy. Farnesina a couple of years ago with Italian courts and municipal registry offices overwhelmed by requests from people of Italian origin who are trying to prove Italian ancestry that dates back to the mid of the 19th century. All right, so anyway, it's true that the Italian courts and municipal registry were overwhelmed by these requests, but still, these people had the right. So it should have been actually more the opposite, employ more people to, because if this is the law, because you cannot afford to employ more people, then you simply reject the law. We can read it in this way, okay? And this is the way I read it as an Italian. In short, people who have had no linguistic or cultural ties with our country for generations and who, unlike the many immigrants in Italy who find it difficult to obtain citizenship. I mean, the law is clear. Once you are living 10 years in Italy, you get the citizenship. So, because this outlet obviously is more it's not pro-government, let's say from the political point of view. So they are in favor of people going to vote to shorten the Italian citizenship for people who are living 5 years. So do not work here and therefore do not pay taxes or contribute to the country's economy growth. Okay, so here they really, that's the harrow, that's the core of the point. They don't pay taxes or contribute. I mean, it's only about the taxes, okay? Because Italy is not in a good financial situation. So they are only focusing on how to increase taxes or how to collect more taxes. Then the rest, they don't care at all about Italy. And these are the problems that are facing not only the Italian who descend by Italians, but also the expat who would like to move to Italy. I mean, it's only about how to gain more money from these people. Taxation is higher, and so on. Anyway, now the principle of jus sanguinis. The problem arises from the fact that Italian law recognizes the principle of jus sanguinis. I mean, that is the law, according to which citizenship is transmitted through descent. It is a principle that, after the period of strong Italian emigration between the end of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century, has left a long and lasting trail. It is estimated that today the people of Italian origin in the world goes between 60 and 80 millions, which is a lot, which is the population. Now here I would like to read a bit these numbers. Now the Italian population is 60 millions. Now we know that abroad there are in between 60 and 80 millions. Okay, let's focus. So there are 60 millions in Italy and 60 millions abroad. And now let's read. The majority of whom live in South America. Again, they like to point the finger to South America. And from there, since the beginning of the year 2000, has come the avalanche of requests for recognition of Italian citizenship, which in many cases means not so much the desire to return to the land of the fathers, but rather to be able to get one's hands on the advantageous European passport, the beautiful European passport. So as seen, in particular, because they like to point from South America, South Americans are applying massively. It seems like massively they're applying, which is not massively, and I will show you now why it's not massively. But it seems only that they want to stop people to get a European passport, the advantageous European passport. The country where the requests are highest is Brazil. According to unofficial data in 2024 alone, over 30,000 Brazilian citizens would have started the process to obtain Italian citizenship, a figure that adds to the approximately 20,000 of Argentina, numbers that, in some of our regions, exceed the internal request for citizenship by immigrants residing in Italy. That's not important. I mean, it doesn't matter how many are applying for the citizen, how many immigrants are applying for the citizenship in Italy. Now, the numbers that I want to point you, which we should focus, is that if I have 60 million Italian living abroad, and here it says 60 and 80,000, what is 50,000? I mean, 50,000 out of 60, 70, or 80 millions who are applying. I can understand if it's 20 million people applying for the Italian citizenship, then I would say, okay, guys, in Italy we are 60 millions, we don't have space for everyone, but we are talking about 20, 30,000, I mean, 30,000 from Brazil, 20,000 from Argentina. I mean, it's not like millions. We are not even talking about hundreds of thousands of people applying. So it's not this big drama, according to me. It's simply because They don't want people to have the chance to hold a European passport. And second, not even giving the chance to come to move to Italy. Let's say that a 10% of these 20,000 who are applying from Argentina wants to move to Italy. We are talking about 2,000 people. Now, 2,000 people that are moving to Italy out of 20,000. Anyway, it helps Italy because anyway, more taxpayers, more skills, more money coming also to the country. Because I believe that many people in Argentina or Brazil would like to move here and maybe starting a business here. So from this point of view, we can understand that in Italy, they really don't want to increase the population. They are doing the best to not increase the population. And we see in which way they don't like the way to increase the population. Through pushing Italian to go away, to push Italian by the cost of their life to have no children, and on top, not even giving the chance to people who were entitled to apply for the citizenship to move to Italy. So, if we see these three things that I just told you, we understand clearly that there is that nobody wants Italian population to increase. I can call it kind of sort of the population of Italy. And then to give Italy to who, that's another question. Anyway, it won't pass this referendum. I'm already telling you, I'm predicting you the future that the referendum about to short the 10 years to apply for the citizenship from 10 years down to 5, it won't pass because people will not go to vote. In Italy, we have a statement saying, instead of going to vote, go to the sea. And because the 8th and the 9th of June, I predict that the weather is going to be nice, I'd rather go to the sea rather than going to vote. Then, what changes with the decree? And so we come to the Decree 3625, approved in the Senate with the support of the center-right government. They have the majority in the parliament. This intervenes in particular on procedures and controls, introducing new tools to monitor, request, and limit abuses, and, as mentioned at the beginning, introduces a major limitation to the principle of jus sanguinis. Citizenship is transmitted by descent, but no longer automatically to all those born abroad, to parents in possession of another citizenship, but descendant of an Italian citizen born after 1860, the year in which Italy became a single kingdom. Maybe it was better before it became a single kingdom. Now, therefore, in order to be entitled to Italian citizenship after approval by the chamber, so the parliament, one of the following conditions must be met. First, the interested party's status as an Italian citizen has been recognized in compliance with the legislation applicable on March 27, 2025, following an application accompanied by the necessary documentation submitted to the competent consular office or major no later than 11:59 p.m. Rome time of the 27th of May. So who applied before has been recognized in compliance with the legislation following an application by the necessary documentation submitted to the consular, so these people are still entitled. The interested party's status as an Italian citizen has been judicially ascertained in compliance with the legislation applying on March 27, 2025, submitted no later, again, these are people who are in process, probably, and so they're still entitled. Then, point 3, an Italian citizen, parent or adoptive parent was born in Italy. An Italian citizen, parent or adoptive parent was resident in Italy for at least 2 consecutive years prior to the date of birth or adoption of the child. So, an Italian citizen parent or adoptive parent was born in Italy, or at least was resident in Italy for at least 2 years. And then point number 4, an Italian citizen, first degree descendant of the parents or adopted parents, was born in Italy. Here it refers to the grandparents. So it's enough to have one of the grandparents born in Italy. I don't know if this grandparent had to hold only an Italian passport, or was entitled to hold both, or even just holding one passport, like a Brazilian passport, but was enough to be born in Italy. So this is still a bit unclear to me. Now, and this last point is perhaps the most interesting. Italian citizenship can only be inherited from a parent or grandparent who already had it because they were born on Italian soil. So they have to be born on Italian soil. The legislative intervention, therefore, has the objective of connecting the automatic transmission of citizenship to the existence of an effective link with Italy. What is this? So, stop the infinite family trees, more or less truthful, drawn up to demonstrate descent from a remote Italian ancestor who perhaps landed on American shores when unified Italy was just born. It is not a question of denying a right, but of safeguarding its balance and sustainability, declared Senator Carlo Bruni, reporter of the measure. Now here, so to stop the infinite family trees, I mean, if they were born in Italy, if they are Italian descendant, I mean, and that was the law. So they simply changed the law to not make it any more possible. So we consider these family trees too far. They are not anymore Italian. They lost the Italian connection with Italy, so they cannot claim anymore. All right, even if we know very well that many Italians abroad kept exactly the same lifestyle as the Italian in Italy, maybe even more traditions abroad than here in Italy. So critics, on the other hand, speak of an ideological restriction that risks compromising historical and cultural ties with Italian communities abroad. Those to which Silvio Berlusconi had recognized the right of representation with the Trimaglia law. Okay, this was to be representatives to our parliament. So it's possible we have in the Italian parliament we have representatives of communities of Italians abroad. So goes a bit against this new law, goes against what Silvio Berlusconi made a law in 2003. Simply to have more votes. Anyway, it's always about the convenience of the politicians in the end. Then let me say one point, that the way this had been explained to the Italians now are following this. So for the majority of the Italian, it's a good thing to not give Italian citizenship, because the way they are putting, as you see, they're abusing of the passport. They use it to go for shopping. They use it to go to work in another country. They use it to hold 2 passports, and it might be convenient. So obviously, if they keep putting the things like this, for the majority of the Italian, this is seen like, oh no, why things are already difficult for us. You see, they like to put it in this way. Now, special attention for immigrants of Italian blood. Of course, the Meloni government, which has a strong ethnic nationalist connotation, which is against this nationalist connotation, so doesn't want to give the citizenship by ius sanguinis, because she doesn't consider anymore these people Italian, and also not make it easier, for example, for immigrants who move to Italy to shorten the. So she's saying, don't go to vote, let's leave it 10 years. And in the end, for me, it's fine 10 years. I mean, I won't shorten because if you live in Italy, let's say you are working 10 years in Italy, then you can apply. I think in Ireland, if I'm not wrong, was 7 years. But anyway, I could have applied for the Irish citizenship, but then I never did it. Um, all right. So still recognizes advantages deriving from blood for those who have at least one Italian grandparent. Foreigners descended from an Italian emigrated to one of the countries that welcomed the most significant flows of our emigrants are in fact allowed entry and residence for subordinate work. Now, this, I need to understand this a bit better. Outside the maximum quotas of foreigners to be admitted to the territory of the state for work. So, by this, I understand that these Italian descendants have a kind of easy way to apply for a working permit. But just to give the residence, not for residence for subordinate work, but not for the descendant, I mean, not citizenship by use sanguinis. So outside the maximum quotas of foreigners to be admitted to the territory of the state for work. Furthermore, always for foreigners who are children or grandchildren of Italians, the period of legal residency in Italy prescribed from the granting of citizenship is reduced to 2 years from the originally 3. Now, furthermore, always foreigners who are children or grandchildren of Italian, the period of legal residence in Italy prescribed for the granting of citizenship is reduced to 2 years, then 3. Anyway, this we can see it a bit like go a bit in between. Okay, I'm not giving you straight away the citizenship, but move to Italy for a subordinate work 2 years, and then you will apply for the citizenship, not 10 years, which is for a generic immigrant, not 3 years, like is the law now, but will reduce to 2 years. Anyway, so overall, these are the latest updates from the Ius Sanguinis, from the citizenship by blood in Italy, which it seems anyway to be a problem for Italy. The congestion because the offices are packed with these requests, so this is slow down other services. I repeat, employ more people, and then, but anyway, they cannot employ. The situation is not that good as we would, let's say. All right, my friends, so I hope you have enjoyed this video, and these were the latest news because this article was only released yesterday or the day before yesterday. And anyway, these are the latest updates for the Ius Sanguinis. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I'll see you here on Italy, a Place to Love YouTube channel. Now, put like and subscribe if you watch up to now. It takes 2 seconds and it doesn't cost anything. Bye for now. Bye.